Hello, and welcome to another episode of ChargersCast. I'm your host, Kirk Brewer, and with 40 years of Charger fan experience, I'm here to bring you a very unique perspective on our beloved Los Angeles, formerly San Diego Chargers. And like usual, I got my two buddies and diehard Charger fans as well with me this week, Andrew from Bolt Casa and Brennan from Chargers District. We have a ton to talk about this week. We will be talking about the Week 11 Sunday Night Football game that just took place 2 nights ago with the Cincinnati Bengals. And I guarantee you we have a lot to talk about with that game. And then we will roll into Week 12. And Monday Night Football is the Harbaugh Bowl. Plenty to talk about there as well. So, gentlemen, without further ado, first and foremost, we've been doing this for at least 4 weeks in a row because we have the opportunity to do it, which is salute another 4 in a row, I think it is, Chargers victory. So cheers, and hopefully, Brennan, you at least have some water there, my man.
Yep.
Man, those victory brews, so good.
They are good. And yes, we came away with a dub, which gives us a record of 7-3. We won that game 34-27, and we will talk about how we won that game. But let's get into, like we do every week, just kind of an overall kind of perspective first before we drill into both sides of the ball and talk about more of the details of the game. This game was the first game in what we had kind of determined was kind of a tough 4-game stretch that the Chargers were entering. And so it was nice to get that win here starting out that tough stretch. And of that 4-game stretch, 3 of those 4 games are primetime games as well. And this was the kickoff of that, having been flexed to Sunday Night Football. So just real quick, I'll give you my kind of high overview here, and then whichever one of you guys are wanting to jump in and take the reins on that, feel free. A couple high-level things. Dominant first half, both sides of the ball by the Chargers. Our offense dominated, putting up 24 points, and our defense dominated, keeping them out of the end zone, kind of their typical bend, don't break. Don't let them get into the end zone, make them punt, or kick a field goal or 2 in this case. So very dominant performance in the first half by our guys. Second half, not as much. And we've seen that a few times this season where we have a little bit of a letdown in the second half, and we'll get more into that. This is one of those games. When the Bengals in the second half, when we kind of got bogged down and they started moving, when they got within 7 points of us, I don't know about you guys, but I literally was starting to have that feeling. You know the feeling, that feeling. And I literally, in my mind, it was weird. It was a really weird feeling. I don't know if you guys encountered this. We haven't spoken since this game has played. But literally, and I didn't tell myself, my mind literally did it on its own and went, this is a different era. Don't panic. Don't freak out. Jim Harbaugh is running this team now. And then, so I'm like, okay, cool. Let's enjoy this. Let's watch it. Don't fear. Okay, no fear. And then they tied it. And same thing. It was like, okay, this script is not going to repeat itself. This is the Harbaugh era. We are not going to choke this game. So just chill out and let this thing play out. And, you know, we'll get into the details of how it played out. But my goodness, those last 2 drives on defense and that last drive with 45 seconds from our own 16-yard line, I'm going to go out on a limb and say, those 2 defensive drives and that last offensive drive, those made statements. Those statements were unequivocally, this is a new Chargers era. This is the Harbaugh era, and it's real. Okay, that's my big overall overarching take on this game. If this was under Staley, if this was under oh my God, I hate when I have a brain freeze. Who's the guy in the visor? The guy that choked all the time.
Norv Turner?
No, the guy that followed Norv. He was an offensive coordinator for
Oh, no. I was thinking of Shane Steichen, but you're
McCoy.
not.
Mike
Mike
McCoy.
McCoy.
Mike McCoy?
Yeah. We know the Chargers. They would have just absolutely lost that game, but in this case, Harbs kept them cool, and they performed. So jump in, guys. I mean, I think we're going to have a theme on this, but these are new times. This is new times.
Yeah, the big thing for this game for me is if we want to be true contenders, if we want to play with the big dogs, we got to play 4 quarters of football. I think those games that you mentioned, Kirk, that we've been only a first quarter or first half team, those were against teams that have some holes and have losing records. If we play against like the Bills, the Chiefs, the Ravens, any of that caliber, and we only play one half of football, whether it's the second or first half, we're not going to win. So my big thing was we balled out. It's a new era. I definitely feel like I wasn't too nervous about the end of the game, but I'm not going to get too much into it yet. But I think we got really lucky with those 2 missed field goals, and we let that one slip away, in my opinion, and we kind of got a little lucky at the end there because they could have easily been up by 6. So that's what I thought of a little of the overview. I think we killed it again against a high-powered offense, but that's kind of my thoughts so far.
Gotcha.
Oh, yeah. For me, it was like I was freaking out. Like emotionally, there were situations watching the game where I was like, I don't know, like you were calm. I was the complete opposite, man. There were moments where I was kind of pacing back and forth. I would have a seat and go, so like in my mind, how do we win this game if they make this kick? Like how much time's left? Like it was an emotional roller coaster to say the least. But this is the kind of team that has the scoring capabilities that is pretty unique to the rest of the NFL. So it's a huge statement for us. It's a huge win. It's a win that you got to look at and understand that the fact that we were able to handle all of the obstacles that came our way in that game, specifically the end is obviously what I'm talking about, makes a huge statement. And yeah, there was a part of me that, was like, okay, this is the Harbaugh era. We've got this. And that clearly showed. But there were moments where I was like, they missed a kick. They mixed the next kick. But we pulled it off in the end. But overall, just an emotional roller coaster, and it makes a huge statement as far as what this team is capable. And yeah, there's a lot of confidence brewing as a fan, and I know that locker room is running with.
Yeah. You can't downplay the confidence factor that comes out of this game. There's a lot of the same players on this team from those past years, and they know how that game would have gone in past years. To your point, Brennan, you show me a championship caliber team that didn't have luck throughout their season at key moments, right? So absolutely it's luck, but the Brady era, throughout all New England, now the Mahomes era, everybody's, the ref's this and the ref's that. And I just posted something that was friggin' hilarious on my IG that was picking on that too, since they finally took their first loss this week. But all teams, all good teams, all winning teams, there's a little bit of luck involved. Let's face it, whether it's injuries, penalties, and in this case, these 2 field goals in particular. But is it really luck? Okay, we held them from making those, having those be 30-yard field goals or 20-yard field goals. Our defense stepped up kind of right at that threshold where it was going to be a long field goal. And then it just so happened their kicker's like kicking what, like 50% success rate this season? I mean, he's horrible, compared to Dicker. And so the odds were in our favor. I would argue that if we kept them kind of out of that 45 plus range, that it was maybe a coin toss. So our defense stepped up. Our defense played a role in that luck is kind of what I'm saying, right? You kind of make your own luck. And by the way, is there a Chargers fan that's been a Chargers fan for more than 2 years, 3 years that doesn't have some form of PTSD at this point? I know I do. Okay. Serious. And that's why my brain was like, chill out, man. This is Harbaugh. Harbaugh's different. He's a different animal. And you could see it in the post-game celebration. The whole locker room's bought in. Everybody's bought in. It starts from like Derwin and Herbert down. Everybody's bought in. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, to get more further in this game, man, I have so many notes, I don't know where to start. But number one is...
Yeah, let's jump on, either side of the ball.
I'm just going to say one thing is, where the heck is DJ Chark, man? I feel like this guy's been due for a breakout game or a game where he's getting some action. He's out all of the season, comes in for one game with a couple snaps, and then is inactive again. So I don't know. I want to hear your guys' thoughts on that, what you think about it, and I think it's an odd and interesting situation. So
I just have in my notes here, when we're going to start talking about the offense side of the ball, my last note is no DJ Chark sightings.
Yeah.
Did we need him? Apparently not, because we were able to pull it out. Would it have helped to have him? I don't know, because, well, he didn't go down till kind of late in preseason, but Herbert was hurt during a chunk of that time. So maybe some of the chemistry's not there. I'm just kind of wondering, is he maybe still aggravated that injury? We're not hearing anything out of the Chargers camp.
Yeah, I was very hyped on that signing, and the first couple weeks I thought we really, really needed him. But the last couple of weeks with Quinn Johnson almost in every single game scoring, Lad McConkey already the second game with 100 plus receiving yards, and Joshua Palmer's making those big time catches when we need it. So I'm honestly at this point, it's now or never for him. Either come and play ball out, or probably going to let him go. And it was kind of like a dud player of the season, because with how our other receivers are playing and even our tight ends, I don't see a really need for him in this locker room, because I want to hear your guys' thoughts on this, but we're scoring 27 to 34 points every game without him. So if we're doing that, obviously there's not too much of a void to fill with him coming in.
Yeah, just one point I'll make on that, and I'd like to have you jump in here too, Andrew, is when we were just kicking off the season and we were talking about the Chargers picking Joe Alt versus picking a wideout. We had a lengthy discussion, because it was everybody, all the fanboys, Malik Neighbors, right? And I really made the point, and you were right on board with it as well, which is if you can protect Justin, he can make good and average wide receivers great. Justin throws these guys open. Justin can pinpoint his passes. He's really good, but you got to protect him. Okay, he can't be running for his life. And that was the value of the Joe Alt pick, is you don't necessarily have to have that stud wide receiver. We need somebody else. I think we all agree on that. But as long as we can protect Justin, and now Justin using his legs, the dynamic is you don't have to have that one guy that like Jamar Chase that they're going to always double, right? That one guy that is going to draw double coverage. So we're seeing it, and we're actually seeing it in real life.
Real quick, did you guys see? And I thought in my mind he was inactive again. Is that how it played out roster wise?
I don't know if I saw him inactive. Was he actually inactive?
Yeah, on the inactives list, he was on there.
Yeah, so I really don't know what to make of that. It's like you haven't been here the whole season, and then you come in a game, you're out of the game, and then this week it's just you didn't make it. Or no, so he was there last week, and then he just wasn't here this week. So there's that. And I also just have to wonder, outside the health, how big of a role is he actually depth chart wise on this roster? Where does he stand? I mean, he clearly plays the X position. Is QJ just the clear wide receiver one in that aspect? Josh is the Z, Ladd's the slot. That may be the case. And that is what it is. It would be nice to see him, but like you were saying, Kirk, Herbert elevates these players, like seriously. I think Joshua Palmer is kind of a wide receiver 3 on most teams. He's a good wide receiver 3. I think he has potential to be a 2. He just hasn't quite solidified that. Regardless, Herbert clearly makes it happen with these guys. It's amazing, and this game was like just pure evidence of that, especially when you look at both sides of the roster. And I think our time will come. Like when you talk about rebuilding the Harbaugh way, every team respects our run. We're not getting these crazy. We don't have a specific running back who's getting consecutive running 100-yard games, but they respect when we put 2 tight ends and you got J.K. Dobbins or Gus Edwards there. It doesn't matter if it's a play action. It's like you still have to respect it. You still have to take an account for what's going to happen, because there were moments where I was like, oh, another play action. They're still respecting it, and Herbert just makes incredible plays. The offense was on fire. That first half was just awesome to see. The media was just glazing, going crazy over it, and I was surprised to see Disley come up with some of those catches. I was like, all right, I can live with this Disley thing. This is pretty exceptional. So
hey man, Disley got downfield in the same, and Justin dimed him, man. That was crazy. And on the running game, JK is special, and you have to respect him. And Gus is the thumper, but on any given play, if you give JK a seam, he can take it to the house.
Playmaker ability, that's like the big thing.
Yeah.
He just he can make, like, the end of the game was literally the bow on top. Like, that was crazy. That's literally what he does. He is a playmaker. Both those guys, 1 and 2, and I think that they're slowly, it's together. That with Gus's situation being out, as the season goes on, those two are going to just be a 1-2 punch that's going to be deadly.
Yeah, let me go over some numbers here for you guys real quick. First half, right? We dominated both sides of the ball. Justin was throwing dimes all over the field. We had 5 possessions in the first half. I think it was 13 possessions total, but the first half, 5 possessions. Our possessions: punt, touchdown, 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 field goal. Dominant. 435 total yards in the game by our offense, 297 passing, 155 rushing. That 1 turnover we saw in the second half by Justin. Justin was our leading rusher at 65 yards. Time of possession of the game, 26 minutes for us, so less than half. And we ran 63 offensive plays. So they had a couple minutes more than us, and they ran, I think it was 15 more plays than I think they had 78 offensive plays against our defense. Second half, 8 possessions, punt, field goal, punt, fumble, punt, 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 and then a touchdown to win the game. So, that second half wasn't pretty, right? Lots of punts. That fumble, again, talk about luck, Brennan. That fumble was completely that was a lucky or unlucky for us. The guy wasn't even trying to thump on Herbert, and his knee just knocked it out as Herbert thought he was literally down. So I think Herbert was kind of letting up as he was going down after the first guy hit him. But, that's how those second halves go when you see those letdowns. All of a sudden, a couple things that were going for you in the first half aren't going for you in the second half. So those are kind of how the numbers shook out.
So couple people I wanted to give flowers to, because I feel like, especially in football and the media, there's a lot of bashing, but when someone actually, the player or coach, does something good, I feel like the congratulations and the positives that come with that definitely gets overshadowed by what they previously did. So 2 people real quick. Quinn Johnston, he was bashed over and over again, and I'm barely seeing any media on him, so I wanted to give him some flowers and kudos. He's scored a touchdown in almost every single game. I put a quote out. He has more touchdowns than the likes of CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, Amari Cooper, and he was injured for a couple games. So this guy is putting up some good numbers, and I just wanted to give him some flowers. And number two, I've heard so much negative stuff about Greg Roman and the first couple games. I don't see anybody giving him flowers now. So if you bashed on him before with our offense doing good, you have to give him credit. It goes both ways, and I never see that in football. So I just wanted to make that apparent. Quinn Johnston killing it. Greg Roman putting up 27 to 34 points in the last 4 or 5 games. So give those gentlemen their flowers. They're doing what they're supposed to. So I just wanted to highlight that, because if you bash on someone, you got to give them their flowers if they're doing good, because it's not easy to come back from a slump in the NFL. It's pro football. It's harder than people think.
Andrew, jump right in, because I know you and I feel the same way about Roman especially.
Yeah, Greg Roman's, like I've said over and over again, legit. The second half was a little, unsuccessful at times, but I want to point out adjustments. How about when that cornerback jumped the out route? Well, guess what? You feeling froggy? Out and up, baby. And that's what led to the win. It's like this game shows, like, you can't. Drake Roman is so good. If you're sitting there dwelling on things that Lamar Jackson didn't do back in Baltimore, come give me a break. What about all the good things that he did? And look what we're doing with the cast that we have. We're dialing it up. We're looking like we can play we just played with one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful offense in the NFL. So how about that for Greg Roman, you guys? Because it's not like we have, Jamar Chase and T. Higgins over here, but we sure beat you guys pretty darn handily. You had a nice little comeback, so it looked great. Greg Roman's awesome.
Back-to-back weeks, we're going up against top offenses. Next week against Baltimore, we'll get into it here shortly, but their offense, we'll talk about it. Okay, we're going back-to-back into the lion's mouth of offensive prowess. And I don't know if you guys have noticed, when they show up in the box on TV and they show Roman, who's sitting right next to him every game?
What's that guy's name?
Mark Trestman.
Mark Trestman.
Sits right next to him every game. He's got a headset on too. He's not the offensive coordinator. He's just a consultant, but I guarantee you he's sitting there and he's bouncing some stuff off of Roman while the defense is on the field. Because once Roman's calling plays, he's got to be into in the zone. But when they're just doing their thing, when the defense is on there, I guarantee you he's got input. He's like, hey, did you see, that defensive back jumped that route? They're having some back and forth. So it's not going to be 100% Roman of old, is what I'm saying. He's got Trestman there giving him some insight as well.
And he's got a quarterback that can clearly just do anything you could possibly imagine with the football. Like, Justin Herbert can do anything. How about one? So I want to give flowers to a player specifically, but I want to talk about Jim Harbaugh. When I think Popper asked him, "Are you going to talk to Herbert about maybe some ball security?" And he's like, "No, I'm not." And it's like, that's like the perfect answer. It's like, we just talked about it. It was a lucky angle and position of the football. I personally love that Justin lowered the shoulder and gave that guy some tough love. I think that's the kind of thing that Herbert's just kind of expressing to the other side of the football, into the league. Like, I'm a big dude. Bring your ass on. Like, it was awesome to see. So I love that. But when it comes to flowers, Cam Hart. When Cam Hart left the game, there was an immediate impact. I think the corners played exceptional. You cannot fault these guys for having a tough night with who they were against. You're talking about
Bolton Bald,
elite receivers, and they held their own. So I'm really happy with all the corners. But Cam Hart, holy smokes, man. I'm really proud of that kid. It's sad that, it sucks that he left the game when he did, but he was clearly missed. he makes a big impact. So I definitely wanted to show Cam Hart some love.
Yeah, absolutely. You saw a little bit of a letdown, but then you saw Tarheeb kind of step it up there in the heat right at the end, and he made a couple nice stops. He was getting pushed off on one of them, and he's like having none of it. I think that was against T. Higgins. In fact, both of them. The one was a high ball, and he got his hands on it more than T did. He could have potentially picked it off. So these two young fifth rounders, hats off to Ortiz, man, and the scouts that Ortiz relies on. These two kids, we're going to see them for a while. They're going to be around for a while playing in lightning bolts.
Certainly not a bad thing to have. That's for sure.
You got
Yeah. I did want to mention real quick, Andrew, I thought that was a really good point you mentioning earlier of going toe-to-toe with arguably the number one offense in the league. Going back to the Greg Roman thing, too. If this guy's a bad offensive coordinator, why is he outscoring the best offense in the league? That doesn't make sense. So, I mean, putting 34 points up and Joe Burrow – putting 34 points up with Quentin Johnston, a rookie Lad McConkey, and Will Dissly over Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, all of these killers. I think that's pretty impressive. So I just wanted to note that before I go into my next thing. But I have a couple notes here that I wanted to just get off real quick. The main thing is it looks like Dicker's back. Well, not the main thing, but a good point is Dicker's back into his full being Dicker the kicker again. He had a little bit of a couple missed field goals, and we were wondering last two podcasts if he was going to be in a slump, but he knocked in a 53-yarder and didn't miss one PAT, didn't miss any field goals, so he's back on it. I think that's pretty good. And then last thing is on the defensive side, looks like our Tuitu Pelotu, that kid is going to be super good. I'm not going to be too worried if Joey leaves or if for some reason Khalil Mack decides to leave. That guy has the most, I think you said something about it, Andrew, but the most sacks since like in the last 3-4 weeks was 7. I'm pretty sure.
He's number 1 in the month.
Yeah. So that's really impressive. We got 3 sacks again, so that's like 4 or 5 games in a row that we've gotten 2 or 3 plus sacks, and I think that's a big factor in the game, not letting Burrow throw the ball at all. So I think that was something to highlight as well. That's kind of the rest of my notes I had for this game.
Joey Bosa, he played more snaps than he has played all season, and in fact, I think since he's played for a couple of years in this game, and they were supposed to have him on a snap count. And he stayed in the game. I don't think he got any sacks, but he got 8 pressures, along with Tooley, who got 8 pressures, and he was this close a couple times. So hats off to Joey. I know he's not 100%, and knowing Khalil was down and not in this game, and knowing how big of a game it was, Joey stepping up was huge. As far as long-term goes, my fingers crossed. I don't know how these guys are thinking, but I know what they did this season relative to Mack and Bosa. And I get a really good vibe out of the Chargers. I think they're not going to look for top money. If they think this team's a contender, I think they're going to stick around. I think they like Harbaugh. They like the vibe of the team. They like their teammates. And if you can make, 10, 12, whatever $1 million a year that they would get paid, but to be in this organization versus go someplace else, especially, they're both getting kind of long in the tooth. I suspect they'd probably prefer to stay around. It's just my guess. And, speaking from the heart, obviously, I'd love to see this dynamic stay in place for more than one season on our edge because it's special. Not all teams in the league have this kind of rotation on their edge. Last game, Bud Dupree was balling, right? So real quick, defense. Again, they had a dominant first half. There were 5 possessions by the Bengals in the first half. Punt, field goal, punt. Defense was balling out. Okay. Overall for the game, our defense unfortunately allowed 452 total yards. Okay, it's Burrow and T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. 452 total yards, 342 passing, almost all of that. Not all of it, but 65% of that was in the second half. 110 rushing. They had 34 minutes time of possession, and I was right. Yeah, they ran 78 plays against our 63, so they had 15 more offensive plays. And so that potentially wears down your defense, right? Second half of the game, they're getting all these extra plays against them. So that says even more, as far as I'm concerned, about our boys stepping up late in that game and making critical stops to either have a long field goal or have to punt it back to us and run the risk of us doing what we did, which is go 85 yards in 4 plays and score the game-winning touchdown. Our defense got 3 sacks, ton of pressures, but no turnovers. So all in all, there was a letdown in the second half, but both sides of the ball stepped up when they had to. They never gave up. They weren't hanging their heads. They were in this game to the final whistle was blown. So hats off, man. This is a game like we started out talking about this game. 100% they would have lost this game. 100% they would have lost this game years past under different coaching. Coaching makes a difference, big difference.
Yeah, these Bengals are doing this to everyone every single week. They're falling a little short as opposed to winning more games, but we didn't flinch when things got crazy, and we're battle tested. Like that is as explosive as it gets, and they came marching right against our tail, and we proved that we can handle it. And I personally think that we're a better matchup against the Ravens as we are the Bengals. I think the Bengals have areas that we struggle to defend player to player. I think we're actually going to match up better against Baltimore. So I was really happy with how those guys didn't flinch. They stayed in there, gritty all the way to the end, and in just dramatic fashion too, to wrap the whole thing up and get the W. I was jumping through the roof. Like that was such an emotional game for me, and I'm so happy that the guys pulled it off.
Dude,
it was huge.
SoFi was rocking. It was loud in there. You could hear it from sitting on the couch watching it. It was rocking in there, man. Real quick, championship teams. How many Super Bowls of the Patriots were won by last-minute field goal? The Chiefs, how many of these championship runs have been won in the last minute of the game? Again, on a last-minute field goal or walk-off touchdown. That is the NFL. Yes. All right? You have to learn how to win these games, and you can't be sitting there going, shit, they're coming back on us in the second half. It's the NFL, especially with a team like the Bengals, who are exceptionally talented on offense in particular. You knew they were going to get their run. Put it this way. The odds were against us shutting them down like we did in the first half and the second half. Mm-hmm. As fans, we sure would have loved to have seen it, and boy, it would have been sweet, but you just know you get. I said it last week in this game. Okay, they're going to get theirs. Last week when we did the pod. Okay, you can't stop them forever. They're going to get theirs too. You just want to hopefully limit it. Well, unfortunately, we didn't limit it as much. We limited it once they tied the ball game up at 27, which sucks for us fans who have PTSD. But it was a statement game, as Harbaugh said. That was a statement game that those Chargers, they don't exist anymore. Okay, those guys are gone. You have to deal with these Chargers now.
Yeah, the media wasn't completely bought in that. We were like, we were the favorites, but a lot of the pundits were still like, I'm sure you guys saw that. They were like, the only two people were really like, the Chargers are going to get this. A lot of the media thought, the Chargers aren't going to pull this one off. So it was a big deal for both the Bengals and us. And we showed everyone that we're for real. This team is bought in.
Just to name a few names. Okay. Adam Rank. He went back to the dark side, and he paid for it once again. Okay, maybe he'll learn not to do that anymore. And then on the Sunday night broadcast, the only 2 people on the whole Sunday night broadcast who went Chargers was Sims.
Harrison.
and then Rodney Harrison, which I was really happy to see Rodney kind of being a Charger again, because he left the Chargers and he was bitter. He was bitter. I mean, he hated the Chargers, and to see him be an honorary captain out there with the coin toss, pick the Chargers, actually do an interview with Khalil Mack and who's the other player?
But I don't remember.
But yes, to see him around the facility and kind of seeing, hey, look, this is a new Chargers. It's a new era, and maybe some of that animosity is gone, and enough so that he was picking the Chargers as an underdog compared to all, Tony Dungy, and just the list goes on of everybody who picked the Bengals. So it was pretty sweet.
Yeah, I think it was a big statement win. I think, like you guys said, just to reiterate, everybody was saying we weren't going to win, and we went in there and in our home turf, we showed up and we won, and we did exactly what we said we were going to do against a high-powered offense, and they're a really fake losing record team. I don't know their record exactly, but it's 4-something. They definitely don't play like a 4-something team. So the fact that we were able to put up so many points and win in the fashion we did, I think that was very important. Like Andrew said, though, everybody's bought in. The fans, the players, the coaching staff, everybody's bought in now, and just feels good to be on this part. Feels different. Feels really good to get that win on prime time.
Harbs, baby. Harbs. Coaching makes a difference. I've lived through so many Chargers eras, and you guys have heard me about this, okay? Don Coryell. I mean, there's these really, well, Sid Gilman was before my time, so I can't talk to Sid Gilman, but that was the first real Chargers era when they won the AFL, right? But then there was the Coryell era, and we came up short, in 1980 in the Freezer Bowl, 1981, against these flipping Bengals and Ken Anderson. And then Bobby Ross, and then Marty, okay? Coaching makes all the difference. Great coaches, not good coaches, great coaches can make an average team really good. Great coaches can make really good and great players champions. It's and we're seeing it. It's just, look, one season difference. And a lot of these players, Ortiz has done some cooking. Okay, we know Ortiz has done some cooking, but your Derwin Jameses, okay, your Justin Herberts, your Joey Bosa's, Khalil was here last season. It's different. And so for you fans, okay, enjoy this. Okay, it doesn't last forever. It's an era, and eras come to an end. Okay, we're at the beginning of it though, so enjoy it. Coaching makes a difference, and Harbaugh knows how to win. He knows how to get the best out of his players. Look at Justin, dude. Justin's balling out, and he's starting to have an attitude while he's doing it. He's coming out of his shell. I could go on and I could go on because I've just lived through so many of the down periods that when you sense an up period, you just relish in it. Just appreciate it.
I mean, ever since LT, I can't really say that legitimately, it feels different, and I'm really feeling it until right now. And I just knew the second that we got Harbaugh that it was it. I was like, yeah, that's the guy. And just how this season's going and the way that it's looking, I'm 100% bought in. This totally feels different. Everything about what the Chargers are doing, and everyone who can see it that's closer to them than we are, they're talking about it, and it's showing on the field. It's so exciting.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt, but to further back that, I saw a thing where Brandon Staley last year went up, and I forgot there was a couple birthdays today or yesterday, Deion Henley's including, and he said happy birthday in front of everybody to the star player. I forgot who it was, and then and said, oh yeah, and happy birthday Deion Henley and all that. This
Kenneth
year,
Murray.
I think it's very important to highlight the reason why the culture changed, the reason why we're feeling this way about the team, the reason why it's a different era is because he is making that effort to connect with the team, to build an actual good team chemistry. He texted Deion Henley reposted this, and he texted Deion Henley about a whole paragraph about happy birthday, have the best day, and he reposted that. He said, what a guy. You could tell that meant a lot to him. He wouldn't have reposted it if it didn't. So I think these guys, the reason why they're so bought in is because of what Jim Harbaugh's doing. He's making everybody feel included. He's making everybody feel like they have a certain time where they're going to bloom into a good player, make good plays. So I think we're seeing this, but it's not just out of nowhere because it's a whole new coaching staff and whole new players. Jim Harbaugh's making the efforts, and he knows what he's doing to get this team chemistry in tip-top shape so we can start winning more games.
Like his brother said, he's the best builder of teams he's ever seen, and that's not by accident.
Yeah.
It's real. He's quirky, he's kooky, he's crazy smart, and he's authentic. And it's a recipe that apparently works. It's worked everywhere he's gone. And the scary part is, okay, this is still evolving. Okay, it's taken, what are we, week 11, 10 games, week 11 with the bye, and we're nowhere near a finished product yet. Okay, this is still evolving. And once this season's over, it'll be evolving into next season. So it's a work in progress. It's going to continue to be, like Harbaugh says, better today than we were yesterday, better tomorrow than we were today. And he lives it. He's got all these quirky Harbaughisms, but he lives them.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you guys want to, speaking of Harbaughs, you guys want to roll into, I think I could talk about this game because it was such a signature game, statement game, talk about this game the whole pod, and we pretty much have.
Yeah.
We're 40-something minutes in, but we do have a big game coming up this week on Monday Night Football. So our boys, and it's home at SoFi again, our boys are going to be on the big stage. And they're not going up against just some mediocre team, okay? They're going up against the Baltimore Ravens, who are well coached by Jim's brother, John. These guys are no pushovers. Guess who's got the number one offense in the league? These guys, okay? These guys are a different animal when it comes to offense. Where to start, man? Okay, the Ravens are 7-4. We're 7-3. They haven't had their bye yet, obviously. Offense, ranked number 1 overall. 3rd passing, 2nd rushing. Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. Okay, that's enough said. Okay, you know how that offense. What it runs through, and it runs through Lamar and it runs through Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry's already 1,100 yards so far this season. That's because they also have to pay attention to Lamar. They're averaging over 30 points a game. Dual rushing threat between Lamar and Henry. Defensive. They're tough and physical, which is a typical signature AFC North team, but little bit different. They're ranked 26th overall, 32nd against the pass, but 2nd against the run. Okay, so that's who we face this week in primetime in our house on Monday Night Football. It's a little bit different animal, but again, pretty much like the number 2 offense in the league. Now we're going up against the number 1 offense in the league. You want to talk about statement games? After a statement game, this is another statement game. And by the way, it's Harbaugh going up against Harbaugh. You think those guys don't know a little bit about each other too? I am so excited. This one was marked on my calendar right from the get-go. This one's not flexed. This one was a Monday night game from the very start, and it's going to be so cool. You know, Jim, he's playing it down, right? But Jim is like, dude, he's up for he's
Oh,
up
yeah.
for this one. Remember that Super Bowl he went to that he lost?
To his brother? Yeah.
To his bro. Okay. So there's that family brother competitiveness. Competitors welcome. That started when he was a little kid living in the same bedroom with his brother. So I guarantee you he's going to be feeling he's going to downplay all week, but I guarantee you even if he downplays it to the players, every single player on the Chargers team is going to know this means something to Coach Harbaugh.
Go for it, Andrew.
I was just going to say, like, when I think about this game, I think about when the last time we played the Ravens in the playoffs and where we found success, and that was with blitzing and being and honestly, that's kind of how the Chiefs beat them last year in the playoffs, was kind of disrupting Lamar, getting him uncomfortable, but kind of putting him in a situation that he couldn't exactly make nasty plays out of nothing, just kind of eliminating that. So I'm thinking the guys need to step up, which they have. That last game was really a good test for them. But Jesse Minter's going to dial something up really creative for this. I think we're totally up for the test. Coming into the season, I looked at this game on the calendar and I was like, oh, it's going to be so tough. I don't know. I marked it as a loss. But dang, I have so much confidence riding into this game. Seeing what Jesse Minter has done throughout the season, I got a good feeling about this one. I think that's going to be a big part of this game. Yeah, they got superstars. They got good players everywhere. They can hurt you. But we play collective as a team very well. And I think we're going to have just the right game plan to kind of make a pretty big difference in this one. So I'm riding into this game with a ton of confidence. I think both sides of the football are just going to be a bloodbath. And I think, like I said earlier, we match up really well against the Ravens. I think when it comes to if they're going to run the ball, I think we're set up to defend the run. I think that, the last game, those big passes, we got burned on some of those plays. That they have the potential to do that in some aspects with their wide receivers, but I just think that they're going to want to run the football, and I think that we're totally game for that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I'm kind of in the opposite, though. I am not going to lie. I am terrified of this matchup. I think this is the hardest team we're going to play, and it's not even close as of right now. I don't think the Chiefs were going to be as scary as them. I have a couple notes just real quick. Derrick Henry is leading rushing yards. Lamar Jackson is number 2 in passing yards. Zay Flowers, everybody's all set up on their run game and Lamar Jackson being a dual threat. But Zay Flowers is number 5th in the league right now with the most receiving yards, coming in at 727. So they got elite guys being able to pass. Being able to catch too. They're second in rush yards per game, and they lead the league in total yards with 430.1 per game. What I'm trying to get at that is, I think that's light years ahead of Cincy. Yes, Cincy's offense is good, but Baltimore's offense is the best. So it's really going to test us, and I think they are a way high-powered offense compared to a lot of the other teams we've played. So it's going to test us. Makes me really nervous, but I think this is a game where we have to have 0 errors, and we have to capitalize on their errors.
Yeah, it will not be a pushover. Okay, they are number 1 for a reason. Okay. Couple things. Andrew, you mentioned something really, really interesting that brought back a memory. That playoff game we had against them. Do you remember who the defensive star of that game was?
Joey Bosa. Wasn't it Joey Bosa?
No, Uchenna Nwosu.
Oh, maybe I'm going back even further. No, I'm picking Adrian Phillips.
You're going back.
Adrian Phillips spied Lamar the whole game and made a name for himself, and we shut them down in that playoff game. And so don't forget, Mentor coached those guys. Okay, Mentor knows that scheme. That scheme hasn't changed. Okay, Donald, Mentor was in that scheme. Who's their defensive coordinator now? Not Martindale.
Well, McDonald left, so I don't know who replaced him.
I was going to say, it's not Wink Martindale, is it?
I don't know.
But it's the same scheme. They haven't changed the scheme. They've lost a couple players. So I think, but Mentor knows that team pretty intimately. So I think he's probably got a pretty good feel how to, maybe keep Lamar contained. And I think we could probably agree on this. The key to this game is our defense containing Lamar. Okay, you have to contain Lamar, and that's easier said than done. All right, freaking A, we let Joe Burrow run on us in the second half. Freaking Joe Burrow, right? He all of a sudden he was sneaking out and just killing our defense, right? So they have to play very sound defense, keep Lamar in the pocket, limit Henry as much as we can, make him one-dimensional. The reason Lamar's so successful passing is because their running game is so successful. Okay, it's not the other way around.
Right.
And so if we can keep Lamar in the pocket, don't let him run around on us, and make him have to be a pocket passer. He's capable, but he's not great. And so if we just keep him quarantined in, keep some pressure on him, again, keep this time clock a little sped up, that'll give our DBs an opportunity to maybe shut down some receivers, get some tip balls, some things like that. It won't be easy, but I trust Jesse of any defensive coordinator. And, these guys aren't perfect. They're 7-4. They've lost a few games. In fact, they just lost to Pittsburgh, did they not?
They lost to Cleveland. So
yeah. So we can get them, but we're not going to get them by having a flawed game plan and having mistakes all over the place. We're going to make mistakes, okay? It's human beings, 11 human beings on any side of the ball. Mistakes happen, but limit them, and it all goes through Lamar, dude. It all goes through Lamar.
Yeah, you said it perfect. Like, in the game that I was referring to is with the Anthony Lynn playoff game, and that's kind of where Joey Bosa to me stood out. Like, I just remember that game specifically, and that's where
that was Adrian Phillips.
Was it Adrian Phillips?
I believe that was Adrian Phillips, who was he was their backup safety, and he was like, Adrian who? Right? He was an undrafted free agent and the whole bit. That's how he punched his ticket and got big money in New England for a whole new contract. Yeah, go back and look at that game.
Yeah, so I just feel like the pressure in that game was awesome, and I just know that Jesse Minter is definitely up for the task because, like you said, that's literally how their team operates, is through Lamar. When you see, like, when they struggled last year in that playoff game, that's what it came down to. So if we can just figure out a way to get him out of his rhythm, make him flustered, make mistakes, that's gonna be the ticket for this one. Absolutely. Because they've got options to win the game pretty heavily. Like you said, Brennan, they have got an offense. So if we can tackle that situation, it's gonna be very helpful.
Yeah, it's funny you guys mentioned that 2018 playoff game because I was going to mention a couple things with that. Number one, they actually just picked up someone who was on our 2018 playoff defense, and they put him on his practice squad. I don't know if you remember Desmond King, but they just picked him up today to their practice squad, so I thought that was pretty funny. But yeah, it's funny that you guys all had different players of the game with that one because I had Uchenna Nwosu. I actually went to that Ravens game 2 weeks before that playoff game at the StubHub, and I was like, oh boy, we're going to lose this one because we lost this one, and I went to the game. It wasn't pretty, but we came out there, and Uchenna Nwosu is the one who got that fumble at the end to secure that win. But yeah, I think what you guys were saying is all what I was pretty much saying. It's a high-powered offense. We cannot make those mistakes. We can't make simple mistakes that we practice day in and day out. If it's a weird interception or a fumble, like Kirk said, no one's perfect. People are going to make mistakes, but we got to capitalize. I said this earlier. Less errors and more capitalization on their errors. If we can capitalize on their errors, it's going to be a really good game for us. And like you guys said earlier, they lost to Cleveland. They lost to the dang Raiders, for Christ's sake. So I think that their defense is going to be the deciding factor in this game. If we can contain Lamar and not let him run like a little toddler, then we're going to be pretty well, because I think Greg Roman in this offense knows that they're going to have to bring it this game.
Well, if you want to talk about a team that should know a team, right? Roman was the O coordinator for several years, with much of the same personnel, the Mark Andrews and Lamar's, Jesse Mentor. He was a DB's coach for several years there. They should have a pretty good handle on this. What I suspect is if Baltimore just sticks to their normal recipe, we'll have a pretty good handle on these guys. If they try and get creative and mix something up and throw us some things we've never seen before, we'll figure it out. Mentor's smart dude, but I could see them probably thinking that, right? Oh, we're going to have to, pull something out that, they've never seen before. One thing about Lamar, I don't know if you guys have this feeling about him, but when I watch him throw the ball, the way his ball comes out, I think it seems really susceptible to tipped passes, and not at the line of scrimmage. I'm talking from his receivers. It seems like he gets a lot of balls that are coming out hot and high, and his receivers can't always grab it, and it's tipping off their hands, and it's a tip drill for the DBs. I don't know if it's just me, but it's his throwing motion, it's his velocity. He's matured over the years, and his passing game's gotten better from when he was younger, but he's still kind of got that element to his game that I think he's susceptible to turnovers for sure.
So, yeah, the one thing that sticks out to me when I watch Lamar, and the one game specifically that I just can't get out of my brain, is week 1, although he has made improvements in this department, but it's literally just his reads. When I watch Lamar make his reads, I hate it. And I'm someone who defends Lamar. I put him, in that top 3 spot. He's up there. I argue for him, but that thing that sticks out to me when he snaps the ball and I watch him make his reads. I really don't like it. I think that, to me, obviously, I don't know what he's doing, but I don't really see a quarterback who excels the way that like Herbert does at that level. Like boom, 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 boom. I'll go back, find it, and I think that his game kind of translates to just does what he does, whether it's 1, 2 reads, and then he's just getting crazy with the play. And it's hard to stop when you're an athlete like Lamar. But you made a really good point with the Greg Roman thing. If there's someone who knows a quarterback, it's him, and that's going to be pretty helpful for us to have that in our back pocket. But at the end of the day, we're just going to have to contain the chaos that is going to happen, and it happens every single week, and that's what happens when you play a dual threat quarterback. But right back, the road leads back to Jesse Minter. Let's formulate and play hard-nosed football.
Yeah, I mean, do any of us think that this will be a blowout on either side, that they blow us out or we blow them out? This is an NFL, right? I mean, I suspect it's going to come down to the last few possessions of the fourth quarter.
I wouldn't be surprised if there are moments that we kind of find control in certain areas. I think we're very capable of doing something like that. I hate to say like vibes, but there's just, when I look at our team, we had that going on in the first half of the last game. So I just feel like there's going to be a certain way on how we approach this game that's going to give them fits. But by no means do I think we're going to blow them out of the water.
Yeah, for me, I wish that was at the end of the game where we had that comfort feeling like we had in the first half against the Bengals, because then I can kick back, drink my beer, and really just relish in the glory of the victory instead of it being stressful right down the last few seconds of the game. It's like, no, man, just win. Just put your friggin' foot on their throats and just win. And let's not make it stressful. Let's just make it glorious. But most weeks in the NFL, man, it's coming down to the fourth quarter, last few minutes.
Yep.
So I suspect we'll have that again this week. Any other keys to the game here? I've kind of already talked about mine. Both well, and on the offensive side of the ball. This is kind of a repeated theme for us. Always protect Justin. Okay, that's going to be top of my list every week. He's the franchise. You got to protect him. I like Taylor, but he's not Justin. And then here more than ever, you got the number one defense. I said this last week, and it applies this week too, because they have the number one offense in the league. Let's try and keep Lamar and Derrick Henry on their own sideline as much as possible, which means us have sustainable drives. Now, their defense is second against the run. So do we think our offensive line, who played really well last week, by the way, they all graded out really high, except I think Bradley. I didn't see a really good grade on him. I didn't see a grade on him. But do we think we're going to go in there and just pound the rock and dominate on the ground? We could. It could be one of those anomaly games, but they're second against the run, right? So I envision we're going to have to pass against their low-ranked passing defense to open up the run. So we're going to have to pass first and run second, but not give up on the run. We're going to have to just, like we've been doing, Roman, he's dedicated to the run. So he's never given up on it. But just keep that run going and try and have long, sustained drives and keep Lamar and Derrick Henry sitting over there on the sideline, sulking that they are spectators and they're not players in this game. That's my offensive keys to the game. Oh, and win the turnover battle.
Yeah, my keys to the game is I kind of already said it, but play perfect football as you can. Try to play all four quarters. I think the key to this is going to be less. It's going to be whoever makes the most mistakes and who's going to be able to capitalize on more. I honestly think if we're able to get some takeaways and capitalize, it's going to be a less close of a game than people think. So that's my main takeaways. And the other last takeaway I have for this game is we cannot underestimate their defense. I think their defense is underestimated over their high-powered offense, but Marlon Humphrey has 5 interceptions and Roquan Smith has 110 tackles. Those two stats right there coming into week 12 is pretty impressive, especially since the limelight is always on their offense. So I think that if we come and we don't underperform, we overperform on offense, and we kind of know what we're getting into, I think it's going to be a pretty good game for us.
Nice. Yeah, it's going to be it's got to be 4 quarters. That second half slump that we continue to have, this is not the game for that. We really have got to, and I'll just say it, like Greg Roman has got to keep it going for both halves, specifically that second one. Like when I see where teams have gotten success on the Ravens, it's, they play aggressive and they can extend themselves in space. So hopefully our offense can find ways to get our guys in space and capitalize on that. That's going to be really helpful. But yeah, this is just one of those games where balance is going to be the key. We can't flinch, play as a collective. But yeah, it's going to be 4 quarters. Specifically, we cannot be too highs with the highs, too lows with the lows. We just got to keep our head on and keep scrapping to the bitter end, because that's the type of matchup that we're up against.
Well, I can tell you one thing. Our boys are going to be chomping at the bit. It's the last game of the week, right? So they're going to watch everybody play on Sunday, including Sunday night, and they're the last game of the week in the limelight, Monday night, coming off of this big win against the Bengals. So, man, these guys they're going to be lathered up when that ball kicks off on Monday night. Let's go ahead and talk about the roster a little bit, kind of the health status of the roster. The only new injury that I'm aware of coming out of the Bengals game is Cam Hart. They said he had a head injury / concussion. Let's see if we get him back this week. He's a young kid. I don't know what his injury history is with concussions, but I do know the more you have them, the longer it usually takes to recover from each sequential one, kind of like Tua, right? So hopefully it wasn't too major, and by the way, we've got an extra day this week for him to heal up to be able to play Monday night. So fingers crossed we get Cam back. That'd be awesome. Joey, like I said, he played more snaps than he's played in a long time, but as far as I've heard so far, he's no worse for wear. So fingers crossed on Joey that he's going to be full strength. Khalil, what I heard on Khalil is when he went into the previous game against the Titans, he played, what was it, 4 snaps or something? He didn't play a ton. And then he re-aggravated the one groin and then injured the other groin, compensating for the other groin. So now both groins are strained. Let's hope having, full 2 weeks off here from the Titans game to this Ravens game gives him a chance to be a full go for us. We need to be as full strength as we possibly can in this game. I can't stress that enough, but especially with a stud superstar like Khalil. Nothing against Bud and Thule and Joey, but they don't make too many Khalil Macks. Okay, that he's one of one. Fulton's back, as far as I know. I didn't hear him re-aggravating his injury. And have you guys heard anything on Asante Samuel? Are we in his window yet? Sure love to get Asante back. Our secondary sure could use him.
Yeah, he's open, like they're able to open up the window because it's been past the minimum of 4 weeks.
Yeah.
But we haven't heard anything, so he as of right now, there's no timely return for him. But one other person I wanted to mention, they did open his window, is Dean Leonard. I think that's going to be a big, big piece for us again, just to add more depth, add more just in case someone else goes down. We have another killer who showed what he's gotten in the preseason before he got injured. So he should be coming back within, if not in this game, definitely next game.
Okay, well, yeah, it'd be nice to get him back. He is definitely a key role player back there and very capable, kind of like our boy Neiman. He's backup, he's a role player, but he's one of those guys who's kind of critical to have. So let's hope we get him back soon. Especially Jasir didn't really show out this week, so it'd be nice to get Dean back. AFC West, Chiefs lost for the first time. They are now 9-1. We've been saying this the whole season. They are not winning pretty, okay? They are vulnerable. And it only takes, let's see, we play them in 3 weeks on Sunday Night Football. So theoretically speaking, if we win the next 2 and they lose the next 2, we could be playing for the division. I know that's like wishful thinking. I've seen stranger things happen, though. So they've a little chink in their armor. They drop another game here or there. Now they're playing Carolina this week. Okay, so technically that should be a guaranteed win. However, right, Carolina's gotten a couple W's under their belt these days. So they're 9-1. There's a chink in their armor. I'll just kind of leave it at that. And they're not playing super good. They're vulnerable. We can beat these guys. We can beat those guys. We're now 7-3, sitting pretty. We should be 8-2. That Cardinals game just is going to. I'm just going to keep repeating it every week for the end of the season. I feel like we're an 8-2 team, but we're 7-3. The Donkeys won this week. Those turkeys are now 6-5, and they smoked. Who did they play this week?
They put it on Atlanta. They put it on Atlanta.
Yep, who we played
Atlanta
a week or two. So
yeah, we play Atlanta. Yeah,
after the Ravens,
week after this one.
Yeah.
So yeah, they put it on them. It's like 34-7 or something. I mean, it was pretty. And I think that was in Atlanta's house too. So. Yeah, we better just pay attention to the Broncos. Okay, Sean Payton's doing a little cooking over there too. And then the Raiders raided. You can't love it anymore. Dolphins just spanked them. So they're 2-8.
Who's saying 63-21 now? I just think that's so funny.
That's 63-21. Aiden O'Connell rookie spanking that we took was the best thing that could have ever happened to this franchise. The gods were looking down upon us. Harbaugh wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that. Okay, so I am grateful that we took that ass kicking because it woke the Spanoses up and said, okay, this is enough of this bullshit between Mike McCoy, And then Anthony Lynn, which Anthony Lynn was okay. He wasn't horrible, but he wasn't great. And then Staley, so thank you for just beating the snot out of us. It's the best thing a division rival could have done for our franchise. And now we get the privilege, hopefully, of kicking their ass for 7 to 10 years in this new Harbaugh era. So thanks, Raiders. We love you, man. Best man at my wedding was a Raider fan. So they're not all bad people. They're good people. Love the Raiders fans. But we like kicking your ass, too. It's that time of the pod, guys. Have you guys put any thought into this at all before the pod? Or are we going to be shooting from the hip as far as the predictions on Monday Night Football, Chargers, Ravens?
Who was the closest last week?
Andrew, you were the closest again. Okay, none of us nailed it, but 2 weeks in a row you were the closest. So if this was like horseshoes, you would have won. You were 27-24, I was 27-21, and our game was 34-27. So you were closest, for sure. So that gives you the option. You can go first, or you can go second, or you can go last.
I'm going to go last.
All right, that's where I had you. So, Brennan, I'm going to give you the honors of going first, my man.
All right, so I'm definitely winging this one. I'm really bad in these. You're
going to nail one. I feel it. You're going to nail one.
Yeah, I was laughing because I looked back at some of the last predictions. I'm like, dang, I'm making myself look funky out there with all these. Like, it's far from my predictions. So I think it's going to be a close game. I just don't know if it's going to be a high-scoring game, considering we're very similar to the Steelers, in my opinion, and it was like 18-16, very close game. So I'm going to say 21-17 Chargers.
Low scoring. Okay.
Yeah.
And that is for the Chargers.
Yes, sir.
All right. Yeah, boy, I was really thinking a lot about this, okay? The Ravens are averaging 30 points a game. And while I love Jesse and our defense, look what the Bengals just did to us. They are going to get theirs. They're going to get theirs. The thing that's special about our defense is they've done a really good job, with the exception of last week, for 2 quarters, really 1.5 quarters, of limiting the points. The yards, hey, man, you go up and down the field on us, we're going to keep you to punts and field goals. And I think that's going to hold true this week. Okay, so we're going to keep them fairly limited, but they average 30 points a game. Okay, so I haven't looked what our average is after allowing the Bengals to put 27 on us, but I know it went up from 13. Just you can kind of do the math, right? So we're probably somewhere around 17 points now is what our season average is, spread out over 10 games. And our boys have been pretty steady these days, putting some points on the board. And they've got one of the worst passing defenses in the league. They're literally like 26th. So I'm putting us at 35-28.
Nice.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So what is it? 35-28?
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
We're pretty close. So I'm going with a 28-34.
28 for who?
Ravens. 34 Chargers.
34-28, you said?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Yeah, we're almost identical. And by the way, I'll just let you know, I had 34-27, but because that was the score of the last game, it'll be a little superstitious. I'm like, yeah, no, we can't just like that. How weird would that be? 2 weeks in a row, we have a 34-27 game.
Yeah.
So I had to tweak it a little bit. So it's going to be an interesting game, guys. I am hyped for it. I'm really looking forward to our guys showing kind of what this new era is. This is another barometer for the Chargers. We just survived one, and we're right back in the frying pan. So, and it is what it is. This is the football. This is the NFL. Every week it's a battle, but this little gauntlet here that our guys got to get through, 3 of them in prime time. Time to show out. This is what they get paid for.
Yep, going to be exciting game.
Yes, sir. It's going to be crazy exciting. And at least, we're on our home turf again for this one. So, Chargers fans, you guys, man, it's been a long time to see Chargers fans showing out like you guys have been doing. Appreciate you guys getting on the bandwagon in this Harbaugh era. That is awesome. But I tell you what, however you guys showed out for the Bengals game, you guys need to show out 110% more in this game. You guys have to be there. Give our guys that last little extra edge. Make it hard for Lamar if he has to switch a play. Just make it louder than hell on these guys. But show your support for sure.
There is no Navy uniform curse. Okay? We're wearing the Navy uniforms to my understanding in this game. The dark ones. So we're going to get a win. That's how it's going to play out, guys. There's no curse. I don't want to hear it. Just show up on Monday and handle business.
I wish you hadn't told me about those navies. I knew it in the back of my head, but I hadn't revisited it. You know what I'd really like to see? You want to talk about kind of some throwback? Is how about those navies with white pants?
Oh,
the navies with the white pants with the lightning bolts.
Oh, those are my favorites.
That
with
would be
the blue helmet.
Yeah.
Those
That'd be a badass throwback right there. So, Harbs, I'm a little superstitious. Okay, can you switch out for the white pants last minute, just for me? I would appreciate it. That would be sweet, and it would look really badass instead of the navy pants too. So, any last thoughts? Let's put a bow on it.
That's it.
All right, man. This is what we signed up for. This is what the players are getting paid the big bucks for, is go play these big games. They are so fortunate. We are so fortunate as fans that we're playing a big game, a Monday night. It means something. It's the first season of the Harbaugh era, and we're already having seriously meaningful games. Can you ask for anything more? Seriously, right? I mean, this is it doesn't get any better than this. I mean, this feels like playoff football. So you got to love it. Well, that's it for another episode of ChargersCast. Appreciate you guys hanging with us, man. Really love it. We're building momentum, and you guys are part of it. You guys are tuning in, watching the pod, giving us some feedback. Really love it. For Andrew from Bolt Casa and from Brennan for Chargers District, go check those guys out on Instagram. Their pages are awesome. Their content's great. Keep you in the know, and give you some really cool other, besides just news, some really cool Chargers things, some nice memes, stuff like that as well. For myself, Kirk Brewer, ChargersCast on Instagram. Appreciate you guys being here. That's it for another edition of ChargersCast. Who's got it better than us, gentlemen?
Nobody.
Bolt up.
Bolt up, baby.
Hi, I'm Kirk Brewer, the creator and host of ChargersCast. I just wanted to say thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of ChargersCast. We really appreciate you engaging with the podcast. When I created ChargersCast, it was intended to be a podcast about everything Los Angeles Chargers from a fan perspective. It's by fans and for fans. So it's for you, and we really appreciate you being here. If you haven't done so already, please go down below, leave a comment, give us some feedback. We really love to hear from you. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe and click the little bell so that you get notifications when new content drops. Again, thank you so much for tuning in to ChargersCast. And who's got it better than us? Nobody.